Taking more radical responsibility for ourselves actually allows us to not have to interface with the systems that we want to remove ourselves from as much as possible.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's why for me, I've leaned, so much into herbs. So, my background and I started my health journey like really rooted in nutrition and really like focusing on that. And I had friends, that were herbalists. Yarrow Willard, good friend of mine, like second generation herbalist. His father is, Dr. Terry Willard, like the guy that wrote a book on reishi and, started the Wild Rose College and that kind of thing. And as much as I was interested in herbs, I was like, oh no, that's a separate path, like that's Garo, that's Terry, like that's their career, that's their journey. And for me, I'll just keep to my lane of nutrition and that type of thing. And yeah, I've really just been like busting that limiting belief system for myself and for others that you can be your own herbalist, right? Like, sure, if you want to, be a practitioner, if you want to go to school, if that's like kind of a profession and a career path that you want to go down, like, awesome. I am going to cheerlead you on. I mean, I actually wrote a course called Business for Herbalists to help people that are choosing that path, be more viable. It's like, how can you actually successfully do that and be of service to the community? Like, I am the biggest cheerleader and supporter of that. And what about the rest of us? What of us that they're like, you know what? I've already got my career, like I've got a path, or maybe I don't know what it is, but I know it's not, like sitting in clinic and, dispensing herbs, right? Like it's the real tactical, tangible, like every day, the use of herbs and yeah, making it more accessible, more approachable, and just empowering ourselves with that knowledge. And it starts, with this much. Like you don't need to know it all, right? If you want to be a herbalist, you have to do what herbalists do, which is number one, take herbs. In herbalism, there's a saying, compliance is key. The herbs don't work unless you take them, like just start taking herbs and not in a reckless kind of way, in an intelligent, like easy, accessible, what Stephen Herrick Buhner says, follow the golden threads. And that's a line that I absolutely love so much. And to be honest, like since I heard him say that, I can't even remember the original context that he meant it in because I've applied it in my own life in so many ways. But it's like, it's like, I keep hearing about reishi mushroom, like, or what's that ashwagandha all about? Like follow that golden thread, like start with one herb at a time. And again, like you could know this much or you could know this much. Guess what? By taking the herbs work the same. Like you can work with peppermint, you can work with chamomile tea, you can work with, oregano and cayenne, the things that you've already got in your spice cupboard. And just build that practical experience. Like that's how you learn. You don't need a degree, right? Like this is again, the most basic form of self-care for every single culture around the world throughout time, and it's about a resurgence of bringing that back into your life. And so that's kind of really what I'm focusing on because I know the power that it's had in my life, and I know the influence that others have seen it in their lives begin to kind of bring it back in. So, it's like going out foraging. And like you had mentioned, you're going to be planning a retreat next year. Every week, sometimes twice a week for the last 6 months, I've been taking people out, not only in kind of rural and wild spaces, but even the urban spaces and going, like, hey, meet spruce again for the first time. You know what spruce is really good for, and just kind of breaking it down. And here's how you use it. And it's like people's minds are blown. They begin to see the environment they live in a whole new way. And it's inspiring and it's empowering. And it's, for a reason of like, yes, if there is, like major, like written down, like catastrophe, which is not out of the question in the 2020s, any of those kinds of like incredibly intense, like, let's hope it never happens, kind of situations, like you got something in your back pocket. You can feel a little bit more prepared, a little bit more confident. But also, more importantly, it's a hobby. right? That you can just in your own time, week to week, being a mom, doing this, doing that, like you can like engage in this hobby that is deeply fulfilling because it's actually so human to each of us to forage, to prepare. Just think about gardeners, whether you're a gardener or not, like how much satisfaction a gardener gets, from growing zucchinis, tomatoes, whatever it is. And all I'm saying is like, there's a satisfaction, there's a deeply human fulfillment, in gathering, in foraging, in engaging in the landscape and seeing the abundance that it provides and being an active participant in that, gathering, preparing, just like a chef making food, for others, making food for your family. When you make your own medicine, especially if it's something that you have grown or gathered yourself, like there's a deeper level of fulfillment. So it's incredibly nourishing. It's a hobby. It's something that you can engage your mind, like I know as we all age, like my mother's always just like, oh, I'd like to keep up with the crosswords, to like keep my mind engaged. Like this is another thing too. It's like you're not trying to go like PhD level, like I'm going to learn all the chemistry about the herbs. Like, hey, if that's you, awesome. But I'm sure you could read a chapter or two on, turmeric or whatever herb that's drawing you. Yeah, to kind of again stimulate the mind, get some active learning and then application in your life, and to be an herbalist for yourself. Just like an herbalist on a professional level, just remember it's called a practice for a reason, to be a herbal practitioner, right? As you develop these skills, you only build them and make them stronger by practicing. So if you want to be an herbalist, just do what herbalists do. They take herbs, they forage herbs, they learn about herbs. And yeah, you're just like practicing, you're building a muscle that is, an internal strength and resilience that, okay, maybe, if the worst case scenario happens, you've got it in your back pocket, but you can also help, deal with that little bit of headache or that, tummy upset also quite naturally. And it's a win. If somebody will, 10 times out of 10, they're going to reach for the kind of the farmy over the counter. If even just once they pause and go, huh, I wonder if there's something else, something more natural I can do with that. And this is the idea. This is why it's so powerful. Not only are you empowered in that moment for all those reasons I just mentioned, but you're also disconnecting from this kind of big industrial government pharma system that we're all trying to fight. It's like actually just disengage, stop engaging, stop feeding. And, this isn't to say that you'll never take another pharmaceutical again, that you're going to never step foot in the hospital. I bet you will, honestly, at some point in your life. And let's be grateful for what it can offer when one needs it. But it's really just about, what? Like maybe again, okay, 9 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10, 5 times out of 10, 3 times out of 10, 1 times out of 10, 1 in 1,000, right? It's just not a part of my life because I've got all this going on. And that is the win. That is the freedom. That is the foundation of where we need to go in our lives. And we're, again, focusing so much on health and herbs because that's the world that we come from. And that's the fight that we had seen and are seeing play out. And we'll be a part of it. But you know what? While that's going on, we're here, we're over here, we're in our gardens, we're in our kitchens, we're in the forest, like having the best time ever, empowering ourselves and getting healthy and having fun and connecting and teaching and all this. And that is really what we want to focus on. Like there was a season of having the conversations, writing the letters. That season may come again. It definitely will, but for now, like let's journey on, let's do it. So